Good afternoon. Rian Kutsia from Fortis Proactive Defense Solutions, and today I am speaking to Scott. Scott is one of the instructors on the Lone Operator course. Scott, today I want to talk again about EDC, everyday carry. It's such an important part of, I think, the South African landscape, quite honestly, because of the crime situation that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Now, last week I had a very interesting discussion with Rent about firearms. So today I don't want to discuss firearms per se. We will still, we will talk about firearms a lot, but today I want to specifically talk about some other alternatives to a firearm, depending on the situation, or a backup to a firearm. But before we get there, I think we need to talk more about mindset, because for me, it doesn't matter what you decide to do. If you don't have the mindset to have it on you, to be fairly, at least, proficient in its use, and to have the will to use it if you have to, then you probably have nothing.
Yes, 100% agree. Mindset drives it all. It's responsible for your personal setup, your training, and your willingness. It's all good having, the Batman belt with all the gadgets, but are you willing to do what is needed of you at that moment in time with what you have? And I find that, yes, like you said, I 100% agree with our environment dictates mostly what we have and what we need. But training very much so. That will help how fast you deploy whatever you need, how to use it, gain experience, improvise with less, and give you confidence to do so. And time in those situations is critical. It's something we just can't afford to waste. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mentioned it to someone not too long ago. I think it may have been you, I'm not certain, where I spoke with a lady some years ago who showed me a knife that she carried on her. And I asked her if she's actually willing to stick that knife into somebody's neck. It was down to that. And she kind of shuddered at the thought, it sounded a little bit alien to her. And I said to her, the reality is you're not carrying it on you just for the hell of it. If you decide to carry it, it's to protect your life if needs be. And if you don't make the choice that you're willing to really apply force with it, it's probably best that you don't have it on you, because then it just makes you think you're okay.
Exactly. And then you fall into that group of people that what you have could be used against you as well.
Yes.
I am a firm believer, regardless of what you're going to carry, especially if it's with regards to self-defense, that decision needs to be made before you step out the door. It's going to prevent you from hesitate and wasting any time. And you must remember, we are in that situation. We are already on the back foot. The criminal or the criminals have already made up their mind and they've already acted. And now we have to react with very little information, very little time. And we can't now sit there, think to ourselves, oh, I haven't thought about this.
One thing that I'm just thinking about now as we speak, Scott, is let's say you decide, I'm not even talking firearm now, let's say you decide to carry something like, one of my favorite items is the collapsible baton that everybody knows. I always joke and say it's got a dual purpose, because over and above using it as a defensive tool, you can stick it up next to your ear and it increases your reception. I've actually caught a couple of people with that one over time.
Yeah.
So let's say you've got something like this, or a pepper spray, and you are at a braai at a friend's house, and there's one guy who imbibes in too much brandy and he gets a bit aggro, that doesn't give you the right to just take your baton out and whack the living daylights out of you. Do you agree? It's for a defensive purpose. If you just use it to climb into people or to open a space in the queue for yourself with your pepper spray, you're going to have a serious problem on your hand.
Oh yeah, 100%, and rightly so. You know, I think we all need to practice some self-control.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't give you the right to try and control situations to your advantage just because you think you can. You know, it's no way to settle an argument or a discussion. Yeah. So, and it's going to land you in hot water with the law.
Because that's a definite escalation right there. The moment you don't get what you want, so now you take your pepper spray out and you just spray somebody just because you can.
That's it.
You've got a problem on your hands. You'd better good attorney in a case like that.
Exactly. That's going to be the beginning of quite the hornet's nest that you've created.
Definitely.
So last resort, and keeping that mindset for that last resort. That's what you need to think about. As well as, like you said, the willingness, but awareness. You know, if you can avoid most of these situations, even better.
Yes, definitely. And on that point, later in the week, I'm going to have a chat with Roo, and we're going to be specifically talking about because that plays a vital role in the whole situational awareness, which I think is your starting point. So we're going to start there. So Scott, let's talk. I want to get your impressions about something. If you decide to carry a blade, any bladed weapon, I mean, even if it's a screwdriver, and a lot of people carry vastly expensive knives like this, which is a handmade knife by one of South Africa's knife makers, Niels van der Berg.
Very nice.
But the reality is that your garden variety criminal probably most of the time doesn't bother to carry a knife worth thousands of rands. They'll just settle for a plain old kitchen knife or a screwdriver that they sharpen or something.
Yeah. They'll, at the end of the day, anything sharp, rusty, gets the job done, cheap, disposable, something you can buy at any hardware store, any shop, any Pick and Pay, gets the job done for them. And I think that's what people lose track of is trying to go name brands and a little bit, even though we all want to be Batman, going Batman, you know, and thinking that the most expensive kit is going to solve the problem.
Well, I think on the loan operator course specifically, you quickly start forming an idea of what kit is the kind of stuff that can actually make a difference and what is really not necessary. Do you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about loan operator is the reality of the training. And you know, if for the new guys signing up, loan operator does say when you are starting the training, don't worry about splashing on kit in the beginning. Come to the range, learn things, speak to the guys, and then you start to actually see what you should avoid buying, what you don't necessarily need to buy, and the products that you do want, you can find better or cheaper alternatives.
What are the kind of alternative defensive tools that you guys generally find that people carry over and above the obvious firearm?
Well, I'm a big advocate for carrying at least 1 or 2 blades for self-defense, but also for just your daily cutting boxes, opening packages, things like that. and if you're going to do that in front of someone else, you don't want to now whip out a Bowie Crocodile Dundee blade and scare half the office away. On that point, if you are going to carry a blade for self-defense, training is a must, and experience, confidence, mindset, and even if you are very, very proficient with the blade, I think the more training you do and the more training you are around, you realize that is a situation you really want to avoid. So it's a very last resort. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are very quick to talk about a knife fight. I think the moment you start talking about a knife fight, you've lost the plot already, because there's no fighting involved. If a guy wants to stick it in you, he's going to surprise the living daylights out of you and stick you so fast you won't know what he do.
Exactly.
So
but that point is so close. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think a knife fight exists. I think that's a bit of a myth right there.
Too many movies. Yeah.
Too many movies. A knife is a. I always think back to the Middle Ages before firearms were invented, and you look at how they settled everything back then with bladed weapons, and I think to myself, those guys were cut from a different cloth, completely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They knew what it was about.
Exactly.
I wanna check with you if you'll agree with the statement. Let's say, I mean, I know you like running yourself. And a lot of specifically, this goes for everybody, but specifically ladies who love to go running or walking or everything. I'm forever telling them that I think it's great if they carry a pepper spray with them, and that pepper spray needs to be in their hand as they are walking or running. It's a pain in the butt, but I feel that's the only real chance you stand of bringing it into play and being effective with it, if the pawpaw hits the fan all of a sudden. Because if you carry it in your pocket or in a moon bag or anything, it's just never going to happen. Do you agree?
100%. Like we said before, time is not on your side. So the faster you deploy whatever you have, the better. And you can surprise your attacker, hopefully. And trying to now navigate a bag or anywhere else you decide to keep your equipment under stress is not going to go down as well as you think it is going to go down, unless you have trained. So yeah, there's a pearl of wisdom that's been given to us on Lone Operator. You do not rise to your expectations, you fall to your level of training. So if you haven't trained it and you are put under massive duress and stress, your fine motor skills go out the window, your thought process changes, and yeah, it does not go according to plan. But I agree, you could carry it with you so you can use it straight away.
Well, I do. I mean, I like showing mine to people. This one is about 3 years old. It's a Saber Red. And you can see what the label looks like, because every time I go walking, it's in my hand. So it starts looking like that. I don't really mind my stuff looking all fancy. I just need it to work properly, and hopefully I can use it well enough if I have to. But again, and I've had occasion to use this while walking one evening in this area that I reside in. And I realized that night that if that thing was in my pocket, I would never have been able to reach it, ever.
Yes, yeah. And the criminals aren't waiting for you to have an advantage. They are going to attack you when you're at your most prone and your weakest, as far as they can tell.
Exactly. And they are quick and they are ruthless.
They are.
Absolutely.
That's their job. That's what they do. They're good at their job.
And I don't think enough people realize that these guys, if they decide to come for you, they really come for you. There's a lot of speed and often violence involved that most people are not mentally prepared for. And again, that's where the mindset and the training comes in. And I think back to lone operator, I think you guys are continuously hammering that into people's heads.
Absolutely. It's the driving force. If you do not have that mindset, it's especially put under stress. You'll fall on your natural response to just find the easiest way out. And we harp on stay in the fight so you can finish the fight. It's a mindset at the end of the day. You know, it might sound cliche, but you are the weapon, you know, and what we have are just tools. So you need to be able to use that. And you need to be ruthless. You need to bring the fight to them if it comes to it.
Well, if you're going to fight in a case like this, I think if you don't bring that level of ruthlessness into it, you are probably going to lose in any case, because the criminal is going to be ruthless.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah,
their
that's
environment,
mindset.
yeah, their mindset, their experience, they've been doing this over and over and over. They don't think about it anymore. Their approach on, I guess, the quality of life, or the decision to take a life, is it's a different thought process than we have. And the less that we can muddle our brains with complicated decision making at that moment in time, the better. You know, make that decision before you leave the house. Know that if it comes to it, if you are in danger, or your family's in danger, or your loved ones are in danger, you need to do what you've been training to do. You know,
and you need to be willing to.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, it's often the case that you don't necessarily have to beat up 5 guys or whatever the situation you think you're going to end up in. You just need to become a problem for them, that you can have enough time and space to run or get out of that situation.
Yes.
Yeah. But if it comes to it, then you have to bring the fight to them and finish it.
No, for sure. I mean, if it means that it helps you to walk away from it, even if you crawl away from it, but you're still alive.
Yes, exactly.
It's still a win, and it beats that, you know, it beats the scenario where you stay behind and they walk away.
Yeah,
which happens far too often. Sad.
Yeah, and however you
Sad.
need to approach it, if you know, say you're a newcomer to firearm training, or you decide you run often in public and you want to carry a blade or pepper spray, a baton, anything like that, or some improvised weapon, then ask for advice, speak to people, do as much training as you can. That'll give you confidence. Anything to add to your arsenals to help your mindset.
I just thought back of something years ago. I spoke to a couple of guys, and there were 3 of them, and they kept referring to the one guy as the knife guy, because he carried, I don't know, 3 or 4 blades on him at that time. Which I don't have a problem with. If that's your personal choice, that's fine. But when I said to him, but listen, we've got a knife course coming up. Why don't you guys join us? He said, no, he's good. So I got the impression that he has never done anything like that. But he's now created this whole persona of, you know, the knife guy. And the sad reality of that is, I think that's the kind of thing that can really bite you in the butt, because that's a fake and a false confidence.
Yeah, ego. Yeah.
Ego. That's ego.
That unfortunately, God forbid anything happens, but in that situation,
Yeah.
the reality is going to hit 10 times harder, and it's going to be just far more difficult to overcome and deal with. Just be humble and learn. Always be willing to learn. Yeah. And
I
like we
think
said
if you
before,
carry on.
like we said before, knife fights is, I'll do anything to avoid that. Once you know the realities and how ugly it is, no, thank you.
I agree with you. I think it's just better to sit and watch it in a movie while you're having something to drink. It's just better for everybody. But
Exactly.
the last thing I want to just mention or reiterate is, I think when you get into the mindset of regular training, you also reach a point where you manage to take your ego and just put it in a bin and become more and more open to learn more and more as your skill sets improve. And to me, that's one of the advantages of training often, and showing up and, advancing your skill sets. And in the process, I think you also increasing your odds of survival, which is probably the most you can do.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, Rion. Last week on the range, one of our instructors said something amazing, just stuck with me. Always be 50% student, 50% instructor. What you know it to a point where you can explain it to anyone in simple terms, and always be willing to learn. Leave your ego at the door and just always be willing to be a student.
Yes.
Keep humble.
Keep humble.
Yeah.
Keep humble, and
Much
hopefully that can help you stay alive for long.
Yes, yeah. So yes, mindset, it's like I've said before, it's the driving force. It's what is going to keep us pushing, keep us fighting. And training, guys, training gives us confidence, teaches us more. Yeah, and always be willing to be a student, and just carry on learning, carry on training. That's my advice.
And stay safe out there.
Yes, yes.
Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your participation. And then we will catch each other again soon. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ria.